Hello, Namaste. It's good to talk to everybody again. It's been a little while. Uh, this talk, I'm going to go into a little bit about just being enlightened. Keep hearing these spiritual teachers talk about how they're not enlightened. And so I'm like, well, I'm not a spiritual teacher, but I am enlightened. So maybe I could kind of give it a different angle on some of the future of these little things. I'm also thinking about just kind of doing these live and just letting these recorded videos just kind of hang out and linger. But I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is this something that you come back to and listen to? Is it helpful? Otherwise, I'm just going to start ranting, and just do it live and like Bill O'Reilly. We don't have to record it. We don't have to save it. Because, most of the stuff I say, this is not written. None of it's written. I'm just doing this right off the cuff. So, probably if I do save it, it'd probably be good if I actually wrote some of these thoughts down and actually had a point. But since this is all free form and just kind of like flow of consciousness, just like live, maybe that'll get some viewers too. I'll do it more regularly than taking like 3 or like a month off every now and then. So, but yeah. Anyways, I hope everyone's having a happy holiday. It's the 4th of July, so happy Independence Day. And without further ado, I hope you enjoy. Namaste. Hello, hello. Namaste. I hope everyone has been well. I hope your wonderful 4th of July is going good. Happy Independence Day, America, baby. And, every other country that celebrates, whatever. I pretend I'm patriotic. It's kind of like my ego thing, but we're all one or whatever, man. So it's all good. No, I really do believe we're all one, though. It's believing you're all one. It's a belief because we're all operating in this the story of duality. We all have to pretend that things are not all one in order to build up whatever the hell we're building. Building up to the realization that we are all one, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, took some time off just to kind of, I don't know, what the hell? Why not? Why not take some time off every now and then? One thing, though, that kind of motivated me to come back and talk, because every now and then you have to do a little step back and reassess and figure out what the hell are you doing here? What are you doing here, Tony? I'm learning a lot about spiritual practice. That's what motivated me to get up on here, is the stuff I learned. So I was like listening to some dude on YouTube talk about spiritual shit, whatever. I don't mean to sound disrespectful. I might come across as disrespectful. It's just kind of my thing. It's kind of my shtick. But I have profound respect for everybody's religious belief, as long as it doesn't hurt or harm or cause unconscious patterns to arise. I don't respect that, but maybe if I was talking to somebody instead of just this recorder, I'd be a little bit more respectful sounding. So don't judge me on that, please. What was this saying? So basically, listening to some stuff, and a common theme is like the teachers. Some of them say, "Oh, I'm not enlightened." Don't take what I'm saying as like I'm an enlightened person or something. And I guess that works for them. I don't know if that's to skirt responsibility or something, or what, or if that's just not how the tone or whatever. Like, it seems like people say, "Oh, I'm not enlightened." Excuse me. It seems like they would say that just so that, I guess, just so that people don't think that they are, so that they get forgiven for anything that they maybe don't say right or whatever, or maybe for the knowledge that they don't have. So I was thinking, like, maybe my approach is like it's opposite. It's like I'm not a teacher, but I am enlightened. You know, and I think that's kind of why I started this, because it's like, there's not a lot of enlightened people out there. I guess I would identify as someone who's enlightened just from what I've heard the definitions are from different traditions. You talk about these enlightened beings and what they talk about. And it seems like everything the enlightened beings talk about are echoing the realizations that I had, which is pretty interesting. It's like, I feel like I'm a joke stealer, I feel like if I went up on stage and I started talking to you about this stuff, like my own understanding of things, I'm just stealing from other people because they already said it, even though I didn't know that they said it. But now I kind of know, once I started learning, I'm like, oh, they said it this way, so I'll say it that way. So I do kind of steal their stuff. But kind of how I look at it is you can't really steal the truth. You can't plagiarize truth. You know what I mean? Like, no one has patents and copyright on true realization. So, if you want to get on my ass about that, Buddha or Jesus or whatever, good luck, all right? You can sue me, but there ain't no copyright on the truth, okay? Boom. So, anyway, I guess where I'm going to be taking this from now on is just like, I guess I'm an enlightened person. It's not I guess, I am. And I'm just going to be spitting whatever thoughts come to my head. But I also kind of think, even though it's very easy for me to do these talks or whatever over a recorded microphone, I think I might just start doing these things live. Because I record it live, It's not like I'm editing the shit I'm saying. I am swearing a lot during this one. It's been a while, guys. It's been a while. But if I do these things live, I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable. Like, I don't know if people are gonna how people react. I mean, I've been getting positive feedback, from people. I guess I haven't gotten any negative feedback. Only negative feedback I've really gotten is like, oh, I don't understand what you're saying. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's because I'm not that good at talking, to be honest with you. Like, if you want to understand spiritual teachings, you should find a practice. You should find some scripture. The Buddha, he wrote some really good stuff. I don't think I would, like, for me personally, I wouldn't recommend the Bible, like, unless you're hyper intellectual, like you're Jordan Peterson or something, because it takes like super smart people to understand what the hell the old-timey Bible says, you know? Like, I give Jordan Peterson a ton of credit, you know? Like, he's going in there trying to translate the Bible to modern day how we speak, telling us what these stories mean with a Jungian context behind them, which nowadays I think to fully understand spiritual concepts, we probably do need some sort of psychology background, because the psychologists did a really great way on mapping how people think and process information. So if we take, what Jung, Freud, and whatever other good therapists are out there, and whatever psychology says, we take that in consideration with ancient spiritual teachings, then we can start to frame these in a more modern, digestible way. So, and here I am, just some dude who became woken up in the middle of freaking 2020-something, post-COVID, listening to YouTube. I was just listening to Ram Dass and, doing a little microdosing, doing a little yoga, family issues, personal issues, all sorts of everything culminated into one singular moment, and poof, it happened. Shit happens. So also, if I come out and I start speaking about this stuff, it's like, it's not impossible. When I was growing up in school, the little bit that they talk about Buddha, you hear murmurs and whispers and stuff. Oh, you ever heard of Buddha and stuff? Yeah, he was an enlightened being, and like he was like had these magical powers of wisdom and all this. And you're just like, okay, that's some dude that happened to, because like when people say Jesus, it's like, did he really exist? There's always that question, is that just some mythical thing? But Buddha is always like, no, that was a guy. He had friends, like it's written down. He chatted, he talked, he did things. And so you kind of like have an idea, okay, this dude existed and he was some mystical guy. But you never think you can attain the Buddha. Like, it's always like, oh, the Buddha did something that most people can't do, like breaking a world record of eating the most hot dogs or something. It's like most people are never going to eat more hot dogs than those Kobayashi or Joey Chestnut or whatever. But, we know that somebody ate hundreds of hot dogs in a sitting. And so we know that's possible. That can happen. That what one man can do, another can do. I think that was from The Edge with Anthony Hopkins and Baldwin. Anyway, I digress. So, you just have these things in your head, these ideas. Okay, people accomplish this mysterious thing, you don't really know what it is, called enlightenment. And then some profound thing eventually happens. And then you're like, okay, I guess I understand everything now. But then, like, what context does that fit in? And then you start listening to more spiritual stuff, and you're like, oh shit, it goes back to the Enlightenment, back to the Buddha, and you're like, oh, now I understand. Okay, that's what happens. I guess, not only do I want to speak so that people know it's possible in this modern day with all the clutter online and in our lives, we can still become enlightened. But also, I want to be here. If anyone, when people become enlightened, I want them to know, like, yo, this shit's happening. It's happening right now. It happened to me. It's happened to you. And it's going to happen to more people. So it makes me feel like it's going to happen quickly to a ton of people. If it happened to me, why wouldn't it happen to a lot more people? You know? I don't know how many enlightened people are on this planet, but they don't. Most of the people I've run across, they say they're not enlightened. So you kind of wonder what the enlightened people are doing. You know, like, why aren't they on TV and stuff? But then once like, for me, I feel like I can spot the enlightened people out. You know, like, you can kind of tell when someone knows, you know, or when someone doesn't know. It's just like a feeling, but also it's intuitional things that go off of what you hear him say and how you see him act and all that. It'd be interesting to meet an enlightened woman. You know, I wonder like what that ratio is, like how many enlightened women are to men that have become enlightened. You hear of great saints and whatnot, like Ananda Mai Ma. Be interesting to meet her. You know, I heard she was a little nutty though. Just kidding. I mean, we are all kind of nutty. You know, it's kind of like one of those things that lead you to enlightenment is, well, first you have some sort of spiritual awakening, so you get the glimpse. You're like, oh, okay, don't know what that was, but let's pursue that a little bit. You become a seeker. You may or may not even know. You may just start being interested in stuff and you don't identify as a seeker. That was me. Or you do identify as a seeker. You're like, oh, I fit into this path. I'm going to seek enlightenment. And you know, and what kind of pushes you or molds you on the path is seeing the stuff in the environment around you, and you're like, man, people are kind of crazy. You know, like, people call Ananda Mai Ma crazy, but who called her crazy? Society, right? I mean, society, they call these people crazy. And what's society? Society's pretty mad. I mean, society, yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of cool things on the internet. There's a lot of cool stuff about Instacart and Uber, you know. But then you also have and the atomic bomb. And you have the wars that are all going on, and like X amount of unaccounted for nuclear weapons. And you have the CIA, and you have human rights violations, privacy violations, secret societies. You have all this other kind of stuff. Calling spiritual saints crazy. You have all of that. Calling people crazy. So if you have the crazy people and the madness saying, oh, you're crazy, you know, that kind of, it's like, well, what the hell's going on? You know, am I going to be led around by madness? You know, you start seeing the madness, you're like, okay, I'm going to stop being led around so much from that. And then boom, you get plopped onto a path, and that path becomes a seeking path. And then boom, you end up at the destination. Or you don't. And you just keep doing it over and over until you do realize what's going on. At least that's how I understand it. So anyways, as being, from what I understand, part of a very small group of individuals who have become spiritually awakened, I just feel like, what the hell, might as well share what I have to say. Maybe it'll be helpful, maybe it's not, but that's why I'm only getting like 16 views on my YouTube. You know, most of the people, probably don't care, don't listen, nor will ever have an algorithm pointed to you from an enlightened person. But if that does change at some point, and people are interested in what enlightened people have to say, then maybe this will be helpful. Maybe I'll make some money. We'll see what happens. And, that's the whole thing. This is like, just because you become enlightened, that doesn't really change very much. You know? Like, I don't know what people think of enlightened people. Like, what I thought of is, I'm like, well, you are some magical being that now has powers to do, to manipulate and control or whatever the hell you want to do. But that's really not what happened to me. What happened to me is nothing really. I mean, nothing really happened. Basically, I just kept on doing what I was doing, but I had a little clearer direction. I'm like, okay, these people are right. I'm going to start following these people. Like basically anything Ram Dass says in that whole Be Here Now organization, they're all legit, and they're pretty tried and true. Like the Joseph Goldstein, Raghu Marcus, all those people, they've been through some shit, and so has all those people that have been in those groups. They've seen some shit, they've been through some shit, and and what I mean by that is they've been through cults. They've seen cult leaders, and they've seen some dangerous, some tragic stuff happen spiritually, basically, to people. And that's, so there are the Buddhists, I would say, are pretty legit. I don't really know much about their practice. I would say if you start forming hierarchies in spirituality, you start to stray from the path. You could start being a little bit dangerous. But people have their own ways. Everyone has their own means of getting to where they need to be. So I'm not going to knock any type of things there. Even Scientology. I was just like thinking, I'm like, you know what? I don't agree with some of the stuff they do. Nor do I agree with I'm just, but just it is there. I'm not going to judge people for doing that, as long as it's in their own thing, like if like, okay, so let's take a different example. Okay, like let's say you're really into being spiritually awakened through letting go of panic and stress. And so you become attached to like getting tied up or being put into situations that you can't get out of, that you have to just breathe through, like let's say you put yourself into like one of those latex bodysuits, and you vacuum all the air out, and you just have a tiny little hole to breathe through. A lot of people are going to panic through that, but some people want to use that in order to spiritually transcend, and some people do that. It's BDSM, So you can do that, but if you asked everybody to get it, you start forming a business, and then you start putting your employees into these latex suits, and like that's part of the job now. Like you have to perform your job in these suits or something, and it starts getting people panicked, and you're like, yeah, it's going to get you panicked. You have to get through that shit. It's how you become spiritually aware. It's how you get better as a person. It's like, whoa. No. Like, that's, like, I don't think that's right. You shouldn't be forcing your shit on other people. People should find what they want to do and do that. But then they also should be guided through whatever it is, through a practice or through a business or whatever, to say, hey, you know what, like maybe this isn't working out for you too well. Maybe you should just kind of like move on, go somewhere else. You don't seem like, you know, I don't think you like being in a leather suit, you know, or latex bodysuit. I don't think that's helping you. You seem like you're not very happy. So why don't you just go and move on? Because that's kind of hard. That's hard for people to do sometimes because they don't have direction or they don't have mentorship. And you can't, you know, it's hard even, like for me personally, it's hard because it's like just fitting into society, you know? I mean, how am I supposed to know when enough is enough? You know, how are we all supposed to know that? And these are things that we have to care about our well-being enough about to start answering those questions. Where are our boundaries? And how to politely and like affirm those, you know, like set those boundaries and whatever, you know, because like there's the fine line. It's like, okay, I'm not happy with where I am. I'm going to get up and move. And then you get in a pattern of just getting up and moving, getting up and moving. So then, you know, society or whatever advice gives you says, well, you know, you should be committed, you should be dedicated, you know, you see things through and you suffer a little bit now for a long-term gain later. And so it's a tricky line, you know. And so I guess that's why you should probably direct people to follow their hearts. But they also need people around them, like good friends, to kind of help tell them, like, okay, yes, you're on the right track here. You should quit your job, or no, you're not on the right track here. You should maybe stick this out a little bit longer, just kind of see how it is. So yeah, I mean, friends and community, it's super important to have too around you. And that's when it really gets tricky, is when you have a shitty community and you're in a shitty position, and so you're getting bad advice, and you're just grinding your gears, and your life just becomes a gear grind, and you're not progressing. And so that, I think, that is the marker right there. You need to individually understand when you stop progressing at a certain practice. Like, you're just doing it, but you're not getting any better. If you realize that you're not getting any better, I think that's a pretty good indication you need to use your intellect to find another way to be and put yourself in. So, because, you know, like David Koresh said in that Waco show, you know, David Koresh was fucked up. I think he was a narcissist. I think he might have been enlightened, but he had like some sort of mental issue that led him to just make horrible decisions. But anyways, he did say some wise things. Like in that show, I don't know if he really said this, but like the first teaching was just going off. He's like, hey, dude, you got like your degree from wherever. Did that make you happy? It's like, for a time, but not really. I mean, I still was looking for more. And it's like, the point is you could do everything. You know, you could make $1 billion, you could save 1,000 children, and you're still looking for more. You're still not satisfied. And so then you're asking yourself, what is going to give me fulfillment? And he said it, man. Koresh said, you have to become better. It's becoming better. It's getting better and improving. Being better tomorrow than you are today. Being better today than you were yesterday. That's what it's all about. And as long as you can keep being better and keep moving forward, we can, I think we can be fulfilled. And so that's a deep teaching. That's a profound teaching. And just because some asshole said it doesn't mean it's not we can't take that and use it, Like Heidegger, he said a whole lot of really wise stuff. And I think his being in time is spot on. I think it's really he understood. I think Heidegger was probably enlightened himself, but he was an asshole. He wasn't a cool dude, as far as I can tell. So it doesn't take away the fact that some of the stuff he said was true. And we should be using that frame it into a context that helps people. Whether it helps assholes or it helps saints. Just let it help people. So anyway, moral of the story is, let's keep being better. Let's keep getting better. And when we find ourselves in practices and situations, whether it be careers or jobs, the church, spirituality, whatever, and we're digressing, or we're not getting better, and we don't see any chance of getting better, then we need to change it up. As hard as it may be, we need to change. Even if everyone around you is saying, no, don't go, but that there is no possibility of becoming better, you need to go. You need to find another way out. And I'm not telling you how to do that. You have to figure out how to do that with your own mind, because only you have all the factors in your life where you can process that in the best way possible. We're all doing that for ourselves. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And hopefully that will frame our future talks or whatever. So I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and be well. Namaste.